What's happening, everybody? Happy Saturday. Welcome to another episode of Facemask Fantasy. Welcome to another start-sit stream ahead of another Sunday slate. Say that 5 times fast. Week 11 start-sit help. You guys already know. We'll get to the members first. That is a member perk of the channel. And then I will get to everybody else as I see them show up in order. Kick it off with some recent updates. The big one being, of course, Justin Jefferson. He was not activated off of injured reserve yet. He will miss week 11 for the Vikings. The situation that's coming to fruition, or the situation is coming to fruition, which is something that I was a little bit concerned about several weeks ago when I was getting a lot of questions about whether it was, should you buy low on Justin Jefferson? The language at the time that Jefferson went on injured reserve was that it was not a guarantee that he was going to automatically be back after the 4-week IR stint. And it's shaping up that way. He missed last week, even though he was eligible to return. He's missing this week because, even though he's eligible to return. The week 13 bye is coming up. You have to imagine with the way teams operate and work with injuries these days, manage injuries these days, it's not going to be surprising to just see them the Vikings hold Justin Jefferson out through the week 13 bye, which means I wouldn't be surprised if he was inactive week 12 as well. The amount of time you have to wait for him is a little bit more palatable now. If you are a contender, if you've got your playoff spot assured, if you're feeling strongly about your chances to not only make the playoffs, but make a run, and you want to try to buy low on Justin Jefferson still and give up a piece that you don't necessarily need for the next couple of weeks, and you've got some wins in hand, you're 7-3, you're 8-2, whatever, you're at the top of the league, top 3 in the league or better. Okay, fine. The amount of time you have to wait for Jefferson is a little bit more palatable now. It's a little easier to kind of handle how long you're going to have to wait for him. Anybody else, hopefully you don't have him and also desperately need the wins because it's unlikely he's going to be able to help you till week 14. So, if you're 5-5, 4-6, hopefully not 3-7, but there are 3-7 teams out there. These are not the teams I would suggest going out and trying to acquire Justin Jefferson. You need guys week 11, week 12, week 13. Pat Freiermuth was activated off injured reserve. He's been activated to the to the 53-man roster. I would err on the side of caution with him coming back. First week coming back. However, if you are desperate for a tight end stream, you could do worse. Khalil Herbert is expected to play for the Bears. What that backfield looks like with him back is a complete mystery. There's been suggestions, rumors, whatever you want to call it, that Khalil Herbert's role is yet to be determined with Donta Foreman and Roschon Johnson still in the mix. I would avoid all 3 of those guys if possible. Dameon Pierce is out for another week, so it's Devin Singletary is going to be a very popular name today, I can only assume. Devin Singletary is a strong RB2 play. It's very fair to say he has RB1 upside. We could certainly talk about Devin Singletary today as it pertains to who your other options are. The typical top names that you start every week, regardless of the injury report, are not guys that I'm probably pulling out of my lineup for Devin Singletary, but he does, if you were hurting at running back or if you didn't have an obvious flex option to turn to, Devin Singletary becomes that obvious play if your depth was maybe a little bit less so prior to Dameon Pierce being injured. Tyler Lockett is listed questionable for week 11, so that's one you're going to want to keep an eye on. Jackson Smith-Njigba potentially comes into play if if Lockett's not available to go. in a matchup against the Rams where you would think he should be able to have some success with some additional opportunities. Justin Fields, not listed on the injury report. He's like the right on the cusp of my QB1 rankings this week. There's a lot of guys I think I would prefer to start over him. But if you don't have an obvious option, you can go to Fields. There are guys like, Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. I'll say go Fields. But how he does in his first game back, I would err a little bit on the side of caution. However, his upside is obviously super enticing. His floor is low. His ceiling is pretty strong. Even in a tougher matchup against a pretty good Detroit defense. And he gets Khalil Herbert back, so that's a good development as well. Alexander Mattison is questionable for Sunday night against the Broncos with a concussion. Ty Chandler obviously enters the RB3 category if Mattison can't go. If he plays, I'd probably look to avoid both of those guys. Trying to make a guess of which Vikings running back comes through for you between Mattison and Ty Chandler is not an ideal decision to have to make. A healthy Mattison, yeah, you would fire him up. But a Mattison, on the injury report with a concussion, don't feel as strongly about that one. And then, of course, you don't feel as strongly about Ty Chandler either if Mattison is active. Let me let my Discord folks know. All right, I think that is the injury kind of wrap up what the latest is that we're working with. Um, if there are any other guys on the injury report that I missed, Gerald Everett is out. Whatever. Sorry, Gerald Everett, but also you haven't. It hasn't really materialized this year for the most part. Matthew Stafford's not listed on the injury report, so Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, you can fire those guys up with some pretty decent confidence. They need Stafford though, and they have him. They have him back this week. All right. I think that's the big stuff. We can go ahead and start kicking off questions again for anybody who's whether you're new or you've been around the block or maybe you just forgot. I will get to members first. That is a member perk. You get to jump the line for questions if you are feeling so inclined to offer up a super. You don't have to, but it's much appreciated. The support of the channel is much appreciated. That will be a line jumper as well. Otherwise, I will get to everyone. I would just ask if you could to just like the stream. That helps for algorithm purposes if you are enjoying the dialogue and the back and forth. Let's kick it off. Greg, what's going on, man? Yes, I would still go. Is this full PPR, Greg? I can't remember. I still got to I still got to play a starting running back over a wide receiver who's missed a couple of games. I know Nico being back in a great matchup, that's really good. That's that's a good spot for him, but I got to play Walker. I have to play Walker. He is still putting up big numbers. It's half PPR, even more of a reason for me to want to play Kenneth Walker. Having another good season. Picked up another 20 touches last week, 120 scrimmage yards. Nothing necessarily super scary about the matchup against the Rams. He had 12 for 64 week 1 against the Rams, and he caught he had 4 catches only for 3 yards. So you're hoping that maybe swings in the opposite direction this week. But I mean, 16 touches week 1, You would think that's his floor again this week. I'm going Walker. Give me Walker as an RB2. A strong RB2 play with high-end RB2, low-end RB1 upside over Nico. Nico's a wide receiver 2. Walker's a running back 2. Give me the running back 2. Give me the running back 2. Okay. Oop, I just lost. Sorry, I just lost the. Hang on, I just lost the chat. Give me 1 second. I can fire this up. I swiped away from the screen. I promise I'm on my way back. Come on. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, back to the top. Start with Astro. Tank Dell over James Cook and Pacheco in full PPR. I mean, Dell's in a great spot. He's been really good. Pacheco doesn't have a too bad of a matchup against the Eagles, but yeah, in full PPR, I would play Dell over Pacheco. Full PPR, it's close for me between Dell and James Cook, but because it's full PPR, at this point, I think I got to give the edge to Dell. I'll give the edge to the wide receiver. I don't dislike James Cook in this matchup. The Jets are not a bad spot for opposing running backs, and they are at home. Cook had the fumble last week. That wasn't good, but he did look explosive with the opportunities he got once he got back into the game. Latavius Murray vultured the touchdown. Cook is not getting a ton of red zone goal line opportunities, so that really caps him. I still like him for his production on a per touch basis, but in full PPR, I'll take the wide receiver. I'll say Tank Dell. That's fine. Great matchup. He's a wide receiver too. Cook is not as he is a running back too. He's on the running back 2 roadmap, but he's not as strong of a running back 2 option as say like a Kenneth Walker. Cook is more on the low end RB2 option, and for me, like I'll in this situation I'll take Tank Dell. And not Ingram either, especially not with Zay Jones potentially returning. He's questionable with a knee injury. He might make his return. Kyler Murray or Sam Howell? I'll take the upside here, and then I think that's Kyler. He looked a little further along than I think anybody could have expected. He looked good in his return last week against the Falcons. He was running around. He looked fine. He, for the most part, looked like Kyler. I got to rock with Kyler. In his second game back, potential shootout in Houston. Are you kidding me? Between him and CJ Stroud, that could be a really fun game. I don't know what the over is on that game, but I would be willing to bet the over on that one. That should be a fun game because it's two not good defenses and 2 good quarterbacks between Kyler and CJ Stroud. There should be a lot of points scored in that game. Give me Kyler. Their defense isn't good, but their offense is now healthy. And with the way Houston is scoring, Arizona's going to have to keep pace. Howell should be fine. I just, it's a great matchup against the Giants, but you always run the risk in these scenarios that he just doesn't have to do that much because the Commanders just handle their business against a bad Giants team. I'll take Kyler. What's going on, Alex? I apologize. I didn't see you there. Yeah, give me Kyler over Sam Howell. Give me the upside. Pick 2 between Nico, Sutton, Singletary. In full PPR, I think you got to go. I mean, Singletary looks like an incredible play right now. I think you got to go Singletary. And then between Nico and Sutton, Sutton, I feel like, has been a little bit better. Nico's been good. I feel like Sutton's been a little bit more consistent. He missed week 10. He's back for week 11. Nico is. Week 9, he had 3 for 54 and a touchdown. Um, 3 catches in every game but 1 this year. Nico does. 3 games with at least 6 catches. Broncos, meanwhile, do look like they're turning things around a little bit. And I think Sutton has been a little bit more consistent. I'll say Sutton over Nico. It's close. I understand if you want to play Nico in a great matchup, but Sutton's been a little bit more consistent recently than Nico has, so I'll give the slight nod to him. Singletary, I think you definitely have to play. Singletary is a man. He's a really good play this week. He's a really, really good play this week. Like, it's going to be hard. Like I said earlier, it's going to be hard for me to take studs out of my lineup for him. Guys that have been playing, like, they're the guaranteed starters on top of playing well. It's going to be tough for me to take guys like that out. But yeah, Singletary or like some wide receiver twos, got to play Singletary. All right, where am I at? Smith and Jigba or Henderson? So Henderson should lead the backfield once again for the Rams against the Seahawks, who are giving up, I think, the most points to opposing running backs in the last 4 weeks. The Seahawks, they started off on pretty good. Their run defense was pretty good to start off the season, but recently they've looked more like last year's run defense when Seattle was getting killed on the ground by everybody. So this is looking like it's shaping up to be a great matchup for Henderson. Meanwhile, Smith and Jigba is potentially looking at an expanded role if Tyler Lockett can't go. You have to play Henderson as of right now. You have to play Henderson as of right now. If it's full PPR and Tyler Lockett is ruled out, I'm fine pivoting to Smith and Jigba if you want to, but honestly, I might still play Henderson. The Seahawks are getting absolutely crushed on the ground right now. The past 4 weeks, just take like default scoring. The last 4 weeks, the Seahawks are the best matchup for opposing running backs in the NFL, in the league. They are the most giving, I guess it's the most generous matchup for opposing running backs. It's number 1 in the league the past 4 weeks. And on the season, they are a top 5 matchup in general. They've been better, but they've been awful. They've been better than they were last year, but they've been awful recently. They look more like they were last year, which was terrible against the run. I think you play Henderson, even if Tyler Lockett is ruled out, which would boost Smith and Jigba's floor and ceiling. Even PPR, I think I would play. I think I'm inclined to just play Henderson. It's a little dicey because that Rams backfield has enough random dudes in it where like some other dude could randomly emerge. But it's such a good matchup. Any running back that gets involved for the Rams tomorrow, and you figure Henderson is the lead guy, as long as they don't pull any funny business, and mix in Royce Freeman a little bit more. Henderson is probably the guy. It's such a good matchup. It's such a good matchup. Let's see. Trade question. You traded Saquon and Metcalf for Eckler? I like that. I like that move. I like that move. I tried to do a very similar thing in a league where I have Saquon. I tried to move him and a piece to upgrade to Eckler, but the guy wouldn't go for it. So kudos to pulling that off. I tried a very similar trade um, and was denied. So I'm happy for you that you were able to make that happen. I'd much rather have Eckler than Saquon for the rest of the season. And then I'll finish the rest of your questions here, and then I'll come back up to Connor. Trade Montgomery and Olave for Swift and Adams. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. At least I don't think so. Montgomery looks like, especially in standard scoring, Montgomery went right back to looking like a top 12 option rest of season for like spanning all running backs and wide receivers. Um, and in that offense, behind that offensive line, I'm not worried about his role or Jahmyr Gibbs' role. I think they're both going to feast. Detroit's a good offense. Montgomery has to stay involved no matter how, no matter how much of an ascension Jahmyr Gibbs continues to have. Montgomery has to stay involved. Jameson Williams is not it at wide receiver so far. I'm not completely ruling him out yet, but it is not good so far. It's pretty much just Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta in the passing game. They need their running backs. The Lions do. Now, Adams is not the same safe layup guy that he has been in years past. It's not as good of a team with the Raiders, and now he's catching passes for the rest of the season from a rookie. Swift is solid, but doesn't get the goal line opportunities. Like I'd rather have both of your guys than either of those other two names. That's a hard no for me. I like Olave more than Adams. I like Montgomery more than Swift, and I like both of them more than both of those two. So no, I'm not making that trade. Not making that trade. Not where if I see you're 7-3. If you have to take a loss because you got Olave on bye this week or whatever, and hold your players, hold the guys that you have. Hold the guys that you have. And then you said you had a second question. I don't see it. JSN versus Rams if Lockett is out. That depends on who, I guess. Let's see. I can't tell who your lineup is. No, not the guys that I mean, if Smith and Jigba's on this team where you have Waddle, Olave, Eckler, all that, then no, he doesn't make his way into this lineup. Nope. Too many good options. But you have Olave. Well, you could play Smith and Jigba over any other guy, like a Godwin, if Lockett is out. And you'll know they both play, I think, in the late window, in the 4 o'clock window, 4 o'clock East window. So you'll know those, you'll know Lockett's availability, I think, close to when Godwin is supposed to play anyway. Oh, someone dropped him. Dude, pick him up. Whoever the last guy is on your bench, drop him for Godwin, 100%. But Smith and Jigba is fine as well if Lockett is ruled out. If Lockett is in, then I'd rather have Godwin. But yeah, good. I wouldn't make the Montgomery trade. No. All right, Connor's question. Pick 3 in full PPR. Kincaid, Laporta, McBride. Oh, I remember this from earlier this week. I think you have to. I think I said in the beginning of the week, you have to play McLaurin. It's a great matchup against the Giants. I think I said earlier in the week you have to play McLaurin. I think I still feel that way. Rice gets the Eagles on Monday night. That's a pretty good matchup. Laporta gets the Bears. That's a good one. Kincaid gets the Jets. That's a tougher one. Although Kincaid might get more involved because of how lethal that cornerback tandem is for the Jets. That could really slow down Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. So Kincaid, I guess, gets a little bit more involved. Um, Porta's a rock solid option. Kincaid is a rock solid option. McBride should be a really good option with the way he's playing. I think McBride you have to play. I like the Cardinals. I like your Cardinals and I like your Texans. There's a little potential for a lot of points in that game. Obviously, not everybody, that's not a one size fits all. I might not like your Houston Texans over certain players, but in this case, give me McBride in that Texans Cardinals game. I expect a lot of points in that game. Two bad defenses, but two potentially offenses that can really light it up. Give me McBride. Give me McLaurin against the Giants. That's a great matchup. And then I think you got to play Laporta. Laporta has been rock solid, a top 6 tight end all year. I know Kincaid has been good recently, but it's not a good matchup overall. He should be fine with the corners potentially slowing down Diggs and Davis, but the matchup isn't great. Allen has struggled historically against the Jets. Not that, not that you're sitting Allen, but you downgrade his players a little bit. You downgrade the other Bills a little bit. And when you have options like Trey McBride and Sam Laporta, I think that makes Dalton Kincaid expendable for just this week. I will say, I think I also said it earlier in the week, I would try to trade one of those two for whatever help you may need. If you could use a running back or a wide receiver, I would look to maybe trade one of those three, as long as it's not like tight end premium. McBride, Laporta, McLaurin. That's where I'm going. Okay. One flex, Hollywood or McBride. Man, that's tough. McBride looks like he's in a really good spot this week. I have a tough time suggesting tight ends over wide receivers, but this might be the time where you fire up McBride. He looks really good. I like Hollywood, and with Kyler back, that really boosts his floor and his ceiling. Houston's been a pretty solid matchup for opposing wide receivers recently, and for opposing tight ends. That's tough. I have a tough time playing a wide receiver over a tight end, generally speaking. I would probably go with Marquise Brown. McBride looks good, but I think I would go Marquise Brown. I don't think he's going to get out targeted by Rondale Moore again. That happened last week. I don't think that's going to happen again this week. So I would go Hollywood. One running back, one flex between Connor, Achane, Waddle. Yikes. They're all really good options. I guess I would tentatively go with the guys who have been. I would tentatively go Waddle and Connor. Connor got a game under his belt last week after returning from IR. Waddle is a stud. Not that Achane isn't a stud, but maybe given the other options you have, maybe you wait on him a week and see what he does in his first game back from injured reserve. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it's possible that the Dolphins ease him back in a little bit, Achane. So because you have guys like Connor and Waddle, I would just fire those two guys up. And then one quarterback, one running back, one flex. Well, Stroud or Fields? I think at this point, out of respect for what he's doing, I think you have to play Stroud. He just looks like the better quarterback right now. Fields might be the better runner, and he's a little bit more electric, but Stroud, it looks like he already has, a deep handle on the quarterback position. He looks great. He gets Nico Collins back this week. It's a very favorable matchup for the Houston Texans offense. It's a slightly tougher matchup for Fields going up against the Lions. It's beatable, but it's not as weak. The Cardinals are. It's a slightly better matchup for Stroud. They've been pretty weak against quarterbacks this season. They've been a little bit better recently, but on the whole, they're giving up a lot of production. Stroud at home should be pretty safe, should be pretty fine. I would play him over Fields. And then between a running back and a flex, Connor, Ford, Singletary, Waddle. I think Singletary has to be in, and if it's half PPR, I'll go Connor. If it's full PPR, I'll say Waddle. Full PPR, Waddle. Half PPR, Connor. Singletary has to be in. Okay, I think that takes care of that set of questions. With Jefferson out now, you need to start Smith and Jigba or Singletary. Singletary is an elite play this week officially. The matchup is incredible. Dameon Pierce is out. I have a hard time taking studs out of the lineup for him, but it's an incredible matchup. You have to play Singletary over Smith and Jigba. Even if Tyler Lockett is out, you're playing Devin Singletary. And Henderson's in that question too. No, still Singletary. Singletary is an RB1 play this week. Sorry if I said RB2. I think it's, with Dameon Pierce out and with how good this matchup is, I think Singletary's got to be in. It's a great spot. And with this offense, yeah. Do I like the Ravens to still contend? Yeah, because they have Lamar. Mark Andrews is a massive loss, but I don't think he's out for the season, right? He hasn't been ruled out for the season. He's going to miss extended time. Or was he ruled? Cracked fibula, ankle ligament injury? Okay. So it is a season-ending injury. Sorry, I thought I saw earlier that he might be able to return this season after. I think the initial report yesterday was that Mark Andrews out for the season. I thought I saw something earlier today that Andrews might not be missing the season, but now the most recent thing I'm seeing is that he is in fact still out for the season. Yeah, I mean, it makes things a lot tougher. There are pieces in this offense that Lamar can lean on. Zay Flowers, Odell looks like he's hitting his stride. It looks like he's kind of rounding into form a little bit. Bateman caught a touchdown Thursday night. We'll see what he can give them. And then Lamar is Lamar. He's still playing very well. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot harder. It's a lot more difficult, but they're still a really good team. And with Burrow out for the Bengals, I mean, that clears the way for the Ravens to win the division. So they're going to be in a good spot in the playoffs. How high their seed is now the true question. Can they get the 2 seed? Or I don't know if they're going to get the 1 seed. They're in the conversation for it, but you don't know if they're going to get it with Kansas City obviously still looming. But with Cincinnati out, pretty much out for the count because Joe Burrow is done. I mean, this paves the way. Deshaun Watson is out for the Browns. Joe Burrow is out for the Bengals. This paves the way for the Ravens to win the division. Sorry, Steelers. I know you're 6-3, but I'm not buying how bad that or how inconsistent and sometimes inept looking that offense is. Yeah, I mean, can they hold off the Chiefs for the 1 seed? That's the question. But they're in it. If they get the 1 seed, then that's all. If you have home games in the playoffs, that is a massive difference maker. That's a massive difference maker. And no, I wouldn't play Cooks against the Panthers. Either Godwin or Smith and Jigba. I know Cooks has been good recently, but the Panthers, it's actually not the best matchup by the numbers, believe it or not. Trade Ayuk and Kincaid for Olave, and the deadline is tonight. Well, first of all, you don't necessarily need a tight end backup. Kincaid looks like a better um, current option anyway than Musgrave does because of the quarterback. Musgrave is super interesting for the future, but for the rest of this season, Kincaid is the better option. I don't think I would do that trade. It feels like a little too rich because Olave is good. Ayuk is, I would say Ayuk is right on par from a talent perspective with Olave. Ayuk is very good. He just gets overshadowed a little bit because Deebo Samuel and George Kittle are also in that offense. But when all three are healthy, Ayuk still produces. And you'd have to give up Kincaid, who is better than, I mean, yes, you have Hawkinson, but Kincaid is a really good option rest of season as well in case you never need to pivot to him. I don't think that's enough of an upgrade for me to want to do that. I don't think that's enough of an upgrade for me to want to do that. I think I would stay put. I like Ayuk. And I mean, Brock Purdy, like, are the Saints going to go back to Derek Carr? Like, Olave did well last week when Jameis Winston got into the game. If I knew Jameis was going to be the quarterback moving forward, I would say, yeah, okay. But, Derek Carr is going to be, is he still in concussion protocol? Oh, hell. I didn't realize he's out. But like, okay, even for this game, tomorrow, Olave might be better than Ayuk because Jameis is getting in there. But are they going to go back to Derek Carr when he's healthy? I feel like they will, even though I think that's a mistake. They should keep rocking with Jameis Winston. Derek Carr is not good, but I think they're going to go back to Derek Carr, which makes me not want to trade Ayuk and Kincaid for Olave. Tomorrow alone, Olave might be better because Jameis, he had more success last week with Jameis throwing him the ball, and he's been inconsistent this year anyway because Carr has been bad. If they go back to Carr, I don't want Olave more than Ayuk. So because there's uncertainty there, I say no. I say no. Oh, they're on a bye this week. The Saints aren't even playing. I mean, not that that matters for the long haul, but even still, if Carr comes back, okay, so Jameis, they're not playing tomorrow. Sorry about that. But even if Carr comes back in week 12, my point stands. I don't like Olave more than Ayuk if Carr is the starting quarterback, and I think he's gonna be. So no, I say no. I would stay put. And appreciate the like, right? Yeah. You don't have to become a member. You don't have to send any supers, but if you do enjoy the engagement and the dialogue, I do appreciate if you just like the stream. That helps for algorithm purposes. Thank you, everybody. Achan or Robinson. Man, Robinson is on. Is Robinson like the RB4 on the season or something to that? If like that, I think he is. He gets the Giants. I think you have to go. Achan is like the most exciting lottery ticket I feel like we've had in a while, like in recent memory. The dude is explosive and electric, but I think I would play Brian Robinson this week. Let's see Achan. This is his first game back. Brian Robinson is an incredibly strong enough play to pivot to that you feel a little bit more confident about. The Giants are awful. They suck. They are so bad. I think Washington. What is the spread in that game, or what's the line? I need to look up the spread because the Commanders are 4-6. They're not good either. And they traded away, they punted to 2024. The Commanders punted to 2024. They traded Montez Sweat and Chase Young. They are still 9-point favorites over this New York Giants team. The Giants are awful. They are almost double-digit underdogs to sub-500 teams. That's how bad the Giants are. Brian Robinson should get plenty of opportunities. That is a spread that indicates that the Commanders are going to have a lead and they're going to be running the football. Brian Robinson. Achane probably for the rest of the season because of his upside, but Brian Robinson tomorrow. Brian Robinson tomorrow. And then as far as the Broncos or the Browns. They're the best defense in the NFL. Myles Garrett's, I would think, is the depoy favorite. He's unbelievable. The Browns. Playing the Steelers. Nothing scary about that offense on a week-to-week basis. The Broncos are better, but not good, and certainly nowhere close to as good as the Browns. Cleveland. You're playing Cleveland's defense even with the rookie quarterback. They're that good. At home against Pittsburgh, the Browns. The Browns. And I see some people at the bottom of the chat getting me that the Saints are on a bye. Appreciate it. So I messed that up. I caught myself late, but appreciate the check. Yeah, Saints are on a bye. Carr will be back. I don't like Olave more than I like Ayuk and Kincaid. Oh, it's the Bills, not the Browns. Still the Browns. Still the Browns. They're the best defense in the NFL. Bills are good, and it's a great spot against the Jets. It's still a good matchup for the Browns, and they are a better unit. They are a better defense. Are they hurt by the rookie? Yeah. But are they good enough to come through? Also, yes. For what it's worth, if you are between a couple of streams, I do like the Jacksonville Jaguars defense tomorrow. The Titans are giving up a lot of sacks, and the Jags are due for a bounce back spot at home. I think they should be fine against Will Levis and the Titans. But if you have the Browns, play the Browns. You traded Kelsey and Debo for Allen and Kincaid. Well, if you had Burrow, at least now you have Allen. But yeah, that one hurts. Connor and Kincaid for Nico and Laporta that's not as bad. That's an upgrade in tight end. Laporta's been rock solid, although Connor being back recently does kind of put a damper on that. Yeah, that's some rough sledding there, man. I don't think I would have advised on that, but if you have Burrow, because if you have Burrow, then I guess at least now you have Allen, so you're not sunk at quarterback. Trying to find the silver lining for you. That one's kind of rough, though. Kelsey, Debo, that's a lot of depth. Lions, D, or Browns? Browns. We're going with the Cleveland Browns. They are still, I know that they are maybe in a tougher spot, possibly in a tougher spot, having to support a rookie quarterback in DTR, but they are still the best defense in the NFL. And this is not a bad matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. The Steelers are an inconsistent offense. They are not a scary offense. They can be had. The only thing you're hoping for is that DTR doesn't put the Browns defense in a really bad spot, like a really short field with a turnover or whatever. Even if he does, though, this is a defense where it's just like, I have no choice but to believe in them. The Browns defense is awesome at all three levels. Myles Garrett is the front runner for defensive player of the year. I'm playing the Browns. Give me at least 1 week in a good matchup against the Steelers before I write them off because of Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Got to play the Browns. Got to play the Browns. What's going on, Callie? The Dolphins or the Texans defense? Now, this is where I'm going, Miami. Houston might let up a lot of points to the Arizona Cardinals. Miami's got Vegas and Aiden O'Connell at home. I like that spot for them. I like that spot for them a lot. I think Miami's they're in a good place. They got a West Coast team coming east. It's probably gonna be hot in Miami. Weird time of the year for it still to be hot. The Dolphins are used to that type of stuff. The Raiders maybe not so much. They play in that controlled dome. Um, Although it is the desert. Whatever. It's a home game for Miami. They're a good unit. The Raiders' offense is lackluster with Aiden O'Connell. I'll take the Dolphins. I'll take the Dolphins. Where are we at? I jumped down to Cali to get him because members jump the line. That's a perk. I'm just coming back up to the top. Dotson, Jaden Reed, or Dubs this week. Is Curtis Samuel playing for the Commanders? If Curtis Samuel is playing, I can't tell you how out I am on Jahan Dotson. If Curtis Samuel plays, Dotson is not playable. Even if Curtis Samuel does nothing, Jahan Dotson is not playable. Last week, this was a game where Washington scored some points. Last week, Curtis Samuel returned to the lineup, only played 51% of the snaps, and turned 2 catches and 6 targets into 6 yards, and that's it. Dotson played 95% of the snaps and couldn't catch a ball on 2 targets. What the hell, man? He is so infuriating. Yeah, he might go for 4 for 70 and a touchdown like he did against New England, and it is a great matchup against the Giants, but also he has goose egged twice this year. He's been under 10 half PPR fantasy points 5 other times. I don't trust this guy. I don't trust this guy. It would be between Jaden Reed and Dubs for me. I feel like Dubs has been a little bit more consistent. I think I would just go Dubs. It's not a bad matchup against the Chargers. Chargers are a top 6 matchup on the season for opposing wide receivers. They've been a little bit better recently, but on the whole, they are a gettable secondary. I'll play Dubs. In PPR, I'll play Dubs at home. I think that's a good spot for him. Man, North Carolina, what's happening?